One question we often get asked is MESHA adaptive? And what's an adaptive test is essentially you have these testlets, little subsections of tests, and if you do really well on these first few questions, you'll go into a different testlet, and if you don't do quite as well, you go into a different one, and it gives you a kind of a route through, like a choose-your-own-adventure approach. That's really good for summative purposes, for deciding, for ranking students or getting a really fine-grained score of how they compare. And so for the purposes of accountability, for the purposes of all those reasons we would use summative assessment, that's really useful. It's not useful in MESHA to have adaptive testing, because it then means that students are going off and doing different questions. So who are we going to compare our students against? Because if students have been selected into this testlet because they performed well, then now we've not got a full sample. And so if our students who got selected into that testlet in my school don't do as well, that could be because we haven't taught those particular questions quite as well. Or it could be that we taught these questions back here really well, so that they did well on the earlier questions and got selected into that testlet. So you can no longer use the information in the comparative way that MESHA is set out to do. So it just wouldn't work to give us those differences. When schools use adaptive testing, it's like trying to get formative data out of any kind of summative assessment. So you'll know these kids did really well, these kids didn't do quite as well, and that's like the level that you're dealing at. You don't know on what, you don't know really why, you don't have that level of detail. So you have to then start making kind of inferences. And it might be that, and this is classically what schools will do, they'll look at the students in different classes and say if these classes are supposed to be equivalent, they might say the kids in this class did better, but that's quite a global assessment. And you can go down the road of saying, therefore the teacher is better globally, and these other teachers need to be more like that one. And then they might send them to go and see the teacher and things like that. And there is some mileage to be had in those sorts of approaches. Often you'll pick up things, but it's not very specific and it's not very targeted. What MESHA aims to do is not to say, generally what's going, generally which classes are doing well, and generally which teachers seem to be more effective. It's trying to find the reasons behind those differences by honing in on specific elements of the curriculum, which then becomes information that you can actually do something with, because you can then say, okay, we've got different teachers teaching maths here, but this teacher's plan for teaching fractions seems to be working more effectively. We will adopt that. Or we globally have an issue, but just with fractions, so we'll work on our fractions. It gives you something tangible to work with, rather than just a kind of mushier sense of generally doing well and generally not doing as well.